Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my review for this month's issue of the Walking Dead comic book series. This month we got to see the release of the Walking Dead issue 146, which is called A Breaking Point Reached. Man, I love Wednesdays. I always look forward to getting a release of The Walking Dead, being able to pick it up and read it. So this one's for issue 146 of Breaking Point Reached. This is the cover where you have Maggie and she's punching Rick. We did some predictions for it. We're like, why are they fighting? What's going on? Oh my gosh. This review will contain spoilers, by the way, for anyone who hasn't read it yet. I do have a good number of people who follow the channel that actually don't read the Walking Dead comic book series, just kind of watch my reviews for the recap so they can find out the storyline. So if you're one of those, cool, no problem with that. But I would highly suggest, you do actually pick up the Walking Dead comic book series because it is amazing. This issue right here was absolutely fantastic, especially the last page. When Charlie Adams are when they show Eugene's face and he's just like, "We have her daughter." And I just read it to myself like, oh man, it's awesome. I geeked out a few times during this issue. It was just, it was so well done. So let's break it down from the top. So at the beginning we have, the Maggie punching Rick cover, which is cool. Then we have a few pages of just no words. You just have characters kind of just feeling, it seems like just feeling what's happening. Recently we've seen Alpha kill over a dozen, I think it was like 14 people in particular if you count the baby. Characters from the joint communities, from the survivors, so to speak, the greater survivors, I suppose you could call them at this time. And of course, we're looking at, okay, well, what's going to happen now? Rick goes back, he tells everybody what's happened, and, you have Gabriel, who actually was useful, having a funeral, and I never thought, he would be, he's pretty useful, and you have, you think of the morale, because in this situation, let's look at it like this, you have the morale of the joint communities who, they all want to go to war, it seems, right away, especially people that were related to those that were killed, that cared about those that were killed. They want to fight. So having somebody like Gabriel, at least, that can kind of, give them the funeral, give them that closure, is definitely useful for the overall feelings of the people in the community, so they don't, death is always extremely difficult to deal with, but it is good to kind of have someone like that there, that they can do at least the, our usual rituals, so to speak, or our, what we usually do, funeral when people die. Sad part, but it's a fortunate part of life. So you have that, then we go on and you just get a sense that everybody is super pissed. You have Maggie and Rick who get into the scuffle because Rick's pissed that she killed Gregory, even though he already knows that, but she, again with an awesome splash page, she looks at him sternly and tells him that she killed Gregory. She executed him. So then they start to kind of squabble a little bit. Rick is super pissed off and ends up hitting Dante and then hitting her, and then she hits him back, and then she actually kicks him once, I think, when he's down, and emotions running wild, all kinds of craziness happening, and then they forgive each other afterwards. Get in fights and stuff. Under that kind of stress, it makes sense. You can see things like that happening. Things like that do happen. So, and I was a little stressed reading it too. I was like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do now? It's just so crazy. So then we have Rick, who's kind of going back home, and you can see from people's looks at him, and also from all the characters getting mad at him, wanting revenge, that he's losing support overall out of everybody. He's losing support of not only Alexandria, but anyone in all the different communities, because there were characters that were killed all throughout because they were having the festival, the fair. Crazy, man. So then he gets back home. We see Eugene, and Eugene's talking with Andrea, and I just really like this part, because at first Eugene's like, yeah, I'm smart, they're stupid, they just want to go in there guns a-blazing and be killed off, and we need a plan, we need strategy, we need, if we're going to start a war with this other group, we can't just use our first response, we have to think this through, create a strategy, create a game plan and a method of attack, and really set up for war. So but one thing for sure, these people do need to die. And then the last splash page I love, we have her daughter. That was awesome. So in terms of score for this issue, I'm gonna give this one a perfect 10, man. This was such a great issue in terms of just everything that's happening, in terms of, for Rick, where he is compared to everybody else in the joint communities where they just want to fight, they just want war. Rick him personally, he has worked so hard to build up, and as of a lot of the others, build up this huge surviving community in Alexandria as well as the others, and brought peace to them. And now they find, even still, that there are still extrinsic outside forces that they didn't plan for, and now could find themselves in the middle of another war. In addition to that, we also have, of course, Eugene wants to do this. If the other people find out that Rick has her daughter, Carl, of course, his girlfriend, Lydia, that they're gonna string her up. They're gonna grab her right away, and you could see a mutiny situation happen. So next month's issue is called Out in the Open, where we can see Lydia, Carl, and Andrea. So I'm wondering if they're gonna kind of tell them, you got to go off for a while on your own, come back in a year or two or something, but go off and survive on your own, get out of here, because the people in, the joint communities are going nuts. They're foaming at the mouth, as the governor would say. They're ready to go, right? They're ready to attack. They're ready to just rumble, so to speak. So, I think that's a good decision. If that's what they're doing, we can do maybe some predictions talking about that. Maybe I'll do a video on that coming up. But just get them out of there for now and just kind of let the situation kind of fizzle down for a little bit and then decide if they're going to go to war. It seems to me Rick doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to start a war with this community, and he's perfectly happy with leaving them, by themselves and keeping his groups to themselves. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen one way or another. Also, too, if you think of like a democracy and leadership, too, he should... what his decision should echo the voice of the people. So if everybody, like if he's an elected leader, which in the real world too, you get this case too, you get somebody who's elected, and then they'll make a decision for a country, let's say, or a group, and that decision may not necessarily reflect what the will of the people is, but that since they've been elected, they get to decide. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of like when it comes to big decisions like that, especially when it comes to war, it should be the will of the people as a whole, I would think. What do the people want? And the only problem with that is people are subject to propaganda, people are subject to programming, and you can literally, if you have access to all the television networks, you can kind of program people. Television programming, there's a reason why they call it programming. You can program your people into getting them to want to do what you want to do. But that said, I do think too that the decision that a good strong leader makes, especially when it comes to war, the people should want to have the war, and if they want to go to war, for you to tell them no, we can't. You kind of have to. You kind of have to mimic the will of the whole group. So we'll see what happens with this one. Really interesting. Maybe I'll do my predictions coming up. Love the issue. Just thought it was amazing drama, and just to see those lines delivered, and just the thoughts, because I never thought we would see a character like Eugene, bring that up as something. And of course, where it puts Rick right in the middle. You've got Carl. Maggie even is upset at him that it was Carl that kind of started this whole mess, so to speak, and now 12 people are dead. So, being able to kind of take control of the survivors and lead them in the beginning is not the same as kind of keeping in charge and staying in charge in a world of chaos where people are going to get mad at you and expect you to always do more and do better when it may not necessarily be possible. And also, too, Rick is the only one that has seen what they have, in terms of their horde that they have, in terms of the amount of whispers they have, and just how dangerous they are. The other characters who are inside the communities, they don't have a concept of how dangerous the Whisperers are and how difficult they are to fight. If they just let loose their zombie herd, their zombie horde on them, and the Whisperers are kind of in the mix in between, and you don't know who is who, they have essentially created mirror images of themselves. They have essentially, created 5 times, 10 times the amount of numbers that they have, because you don't know which is which. You don't know which one's hiding a knife, maybe in its sleeve or something. You don't know which one possibly could have some firearms. We've seen that they have a few, not that many, but they do have some. But it's just going to be really interesting to see how this all plays down, and if they do in fact have to go to war. It seems like whether or not Rick wants it to, it's probably inevitable. But those are my thoughts. Anyway, great issue, really kind of stressful read at the beginning for me, but then I really liked the line at the end for sure, and it's just really interesting to see the dynamic of everybody, has their own wants, everybody has their own desires, And, to see as a whole what they're going to do is going to be really, really interesting. Again, new ground for The Walking Dead, not something we've really dealt with before, not like this, I wouldn't say. And that's good. It's always evolving, it's always changing, it's always growing, and, that's what makes it my favorite series of all time. So, if you guys like this video, please thumb it up below. If you want to support the channel, please share, please favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, be sure to subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one, guys. I'll see you again really soon for another comic book related Walking Dead video. Probably my predictions in a few days. It's Trev. I'm saying peace.